Hi, my name is Regina Latrice. I am 35 years old. I am from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm going to share my story on domestic violence and abuse, how I was able to be free from that. Started at the age of 13 years old, and I just want to share my story about how I got through that journey. I grew up in a home with my mother and my father, and my mom has 7 children, and she adopted 3. At the age of, I believe I was 12 or 13 years old, I have a sister. She was shot in a drive-by shooting, and she was paralyzed. I never really had like a close relationship with my father, and my mom was so busy with taking care of my daughter, with my sister, the other children, that I didn't really have that motherly love desired as a young lady. I met my future husband at the age of 13 years old. So I got into a relationship at the age of 13 because my mom, she was away a lot because she was helping my sister, which is rightfully so. She couldn't give me that love and attention because my sister required so much of her. So I kind of started looking for love in all the wrong places, and I was in middle school and met this guy, and it went from there. Like I said, I grew up, I didn't really see that like love and affection, with my parents or whatever. I was looking for love in all the wrong places. So I was always desiring something, desiring to feel love, desiring to be told that someone loves me, desiring to feel beautiful because I didn't have that. So in my mind, the first person that comes to me and says, "Hey, you're beautiful," and they tell me they love me, in my mind, that's what that's what love is, because I never really had any experience outside of that. I didn't know what it looked like. So I thought that it was all good. Coming from a home, like I said, he came from a background, he didn't have the best childhood. Like we had we both had issues happen to us as kids in our homes or whatever. So we were like getting together, not knowing what we were doing, but we have each other. We have that attention from one another. So it kind of started like, there were no red flags or anything in the beginning, but as time went on, he became abusive. I believe some of it, like I said, stem from like childhood things. We're kids, we're angry at certain things, we're not feeling love. Those things come out in different ways. So he started to abuse me. I was going to school with bruises on my arm, covering it up and just hiding things and hiding from my family and just being really sneaky and conniving, like I said, because not having a mother, and not having my parents there to watch over me all the time because of my sister, in different situations, I was able to be a little sneaky and go do things, and hide things. I learned how to manipulate and connive at a young age to cover things up. And we were intimate, I lost my virginity at a young age, didn't know what I was doing. Just like I said, the first person that tells me they love me, and my family kind of found out about it, and they didn't agree with it. I have a loving, very loving family. They didn't agree with it, but like I said, I was sneaky and doing things on my own. So when the abuse started, because I didn't know what love was, I didn't love myself. First of all, let's start there. So I thought that this was what it looks like. And then, someone tells you they sorry and they're doing things to draw you back. You getting that attention. I love you. I'm sorry. I was hurt, or you hurt me. And then you start blaming yourself. Well, I did say this, or I could have done this better. So, they gave him a reason to do what he did. But in our reality, it was just delusion. And I didn't know who I was, and I didn't love myself. So I allowed it to happen. And then you get so connected with it. You get the soul ties and everything, and then you just feel like you're stuck and it's no way out. So I was with him from the age of 13 until actually we divorced 7 years ago in November, and I'm 35 years old right now. So before we got married, I know God has always spoken to me through, even as a little girl, I didn't understand that it was God speaking to me, and he was letting me know like, this is not it, this is not my plan I have for you, to get out. Actually, before I married him, he broke my jaw before we got married. Once again, loving and forgiving. Then it was infidelity, and it was just different things, and it got so bad that towards the end, I knew that I was just miserable. I was not happy. I honestly did not even want to live. I was like, if it wasn't for my kids, I would have probably committed suicide, because I was just and I felt stuck. I felt like it was no way out. So God just dealt with me. It was getting worse and worse and worse. And God just dealt with me. He told me that if you don't let this go, you're not going to live to see your kids grow up. You're going to, you're going to be really hurting. This is serious now. I've given you ways out. I've given you chances, and you keep taking him back, thinking that things are going to change because that's what you're hoping, because that's all you know. You don't really know love. You think this is love, but this is not really love. So I got to the point to where I knew that I had to make a decision, because if I didn't, I don't believe that I would still be alive. He drinks a lot. He was, an alcoholic. So one incident happened. I don't even remember why we got into an argument, but he locked me in the bathroom and was choking me. And it was like, I saw like fire in his eyes, and I was so afraid. And my children were like knocking on the door, crying and screaming. And my middle daughter, she actually called the police. I was like, what this is? So I kicked them out. I'm like, this is too much. These kids, they're growing up. When they're little, it's one thing, but as they're getting older, they don't need to see this. So I kicked them out. And then, we ended up taking them back again, because of course I want to make my family work. And then another situation was when a young lady, one of the young ladies that he was cheating with, she actually called me and was harassing me and was telling me how my house looked. She'd been in my bed and everything like that. And I had actually filed for divorce at that time, and I let it go. But when I let it go and I put him out, I felt like like death. Like I felt like something was dying inside of me. So I felt like I couldn't be, like I was making the wrong decision. So I'm like, I'm gonna give it one more try. I'm gonna make it work because I don't know how to live without you because I'm so attached that it felt like my life was falling apart when I put him out. So I let him back in and yeah, nothing changed. The last thing that led me to know that I had to let it go and that I could not deal with this situation anymore was that one time he got caught cheating on me and blamed me and abused me because he said that I was making things up, and the proof was there. Everything was there that I needed. And then a young lady come into my home, and I felt like, you know what, at this point, if they're this bold to disrespect me in this way where my children live, I don't know these people. I don't know, that's dangerous for me and my children, and it's just not worth it anymore. I'm getting older. These kids are getting older. It's not healthy. It just was it. I was just like, I'm done and I'm not turning back ever. So when I initially told him that I was leaving, men are stubborn. They're like, okay. He's like, okay, like it didn't bother him. But then once I served divorce papers and stuff, he saw that it was like I was not joking anymore, and he would try to come back and make it work. Told me he would stop drinking. He would change and started going to church with me and doing different things like that. And it lasted for a moment. Those things did last for a moment, but like I said, a person can only fake for so long. So eventually he started doing the same things over and over. And then even leading up to the day of the divorce, I remember him texting me while I was in court because he didn't show up at court, and he said, please don't leave me. Like he was like, he didn't want to let go, but it was no turning back at that point. A lot of it is my biggest thing were my children. This is all they know. My kids love their father, and I look at it like we all have grace for him because I feel like, we all do things, but it's something that's stemming that, for me to believe that this was love. What is it inside of me that I saw or believed as a child that this is what I believe, that this is how love should be? So we all have internal things that causes us to do and say certain things. So every day wasn't bad. I'm not going to say it was just like horrible. I wasn't perfect. I did things and said things, but so sometimes were good. There were good times, but then it's like when you catch you with another woman or you're doing things that, and then it's stemming, it's causing so much tension in the house because you don't want me to come to you about it or say anything about it because you feel like you can just do whatever you want to do. And I did, my family and my friends knew they didn't agree with the abuse. Of course, my family and friends are loving, but they know that that's not right for someone to abuse you. So I would talk to my friends and everything, but a lot of times, because you're in that and you don't want to let go, we can say we want to let go, but I knew a lot of times when I'm confiding in people, I wasn't really ready to let go. I'm just talking just to, blow hot air. So you don't want to engage your family and friends because it's like, okay, if I call my brothers over here, if he's abusing me, then, I call them and then they end up in jail and then I'm right back with him, so it was like, I didn't want to involve them, but they definitely wanted what was best for me and they definitely did not agree. But I'm a grown up. I'm gonna do what I want to do. Can't nobody tell me nothing. And more than anything, I wanted my children to see that people can't change and things can change and you can live in a healthy home, because I never in my mind imagined having 3 children being a single mom. I didn't want that. My kids need their dad. Children need their father. And I wanted it to work, but it didn't work out that way. It started off when I was younger in places like where you couldn't see, like the legs, the arms, where you can cover up. It was just as often as, it was a lot. It was just as often as I trigger something or say something or address something or confront him about something, and he would get mad. And he didn't like the things that I would say. Sometimes I would say, things wrong or the wrong thing, and he didn't like that. So that's another form of, abuse. I hid out sometimes because I was in places like in my eyes and things. I would hide at home for weeks and lie to my family and say I'm working or something, like I'm working double shifts or something like that. If you're abused, a lot of times you take the blame, because if a person can manipulate your mind and make you believe that you're the problem, that you take that and you carry that and you feel heavy, and you start thinking about, well, I did say this, or, I could have done this better. And you start guilt tripping yourself. And that is another form of them just manipulating your mind to get what they want. So I understand, like, as a woman that's been abused, that's why it took so long for me to let go, because I'm like, okay, well, I'm not perfect. God forgives me. I have to forgive. But at the end of the day, no, that's not the right thinking. And you stay because you like the kids and that's your heart. So they know that, and they know you will do anything for your children, but you cannot carry that load. Like, it's not your fault. And I had to come to grips with that. Like, it's not my fault that things are, I should have never been involved with this person from the beginning. And that's just the reality of the situation. I was so depressed. I was in nursing school, couldn't finish nursing school because I was just so depressed. I would try to work a lot, just keep my mind going. Didn't really, like, I would go around family and friends because I have a big family and great friends, but I would put on masks and act like it's all good. I would always put on these facades on social media, make it seem like we're this happy, this wonderful, happy family. And I was miserable impossible. I was dying. Like I said, I didn't want to live. And if it wasn't for my children, I believe that, I would have done something to myself, because I just felt like it was like no way out. I felt like I was stuck. And I felt like being so young, I'm like, my life, I felt like I just messed my life up, and it was no going back. It's not a good feeling. You have all type of thoughts going on in your mind. I was eating more, and just different things, because I didn't know what to do. It's like you just don't know what to do. Like, how can I get out of this? You do not see a way out. It seems like it's so far, like it's like impossible almost to get out of something like that. So I never really had a getaway plan. Because I didn't want, like, it's like you struggle within yourself. Like, I want to let it go. I know I should, but what am I going to do? What's the future going to look like? How am I going to make it? What if he doesn't come around with the kids? And what about the kids? So I never really had a getaway plan. I never planned like, I'm going to just try to sneak and leave. I was just going with the flow, but I knew that I needed to get away, but I never thought like, let me put a plan in place, because I don't think I was serious. I was telling myself that I know I need to, but I wasn't really serious about doing it. Like I said, the last straw was with the woman when she came to my home. It was just I was just harassing me. I'm like, I can't have this at my home. So it ended up working out that we just had renewed the lease or whatever. And I was like, oh man, I called my leasing lady and I was like, I need to get him out. But she was like, of course, well, he signed it. You can't just automatically you can't just do that legally. So he'll have to wait till next year. So it ended up working out where they didn't have all the paperwork complete. So I was able to go in and remove his name off the lease. I went back. I signed the lease after I filed divorce, and then filed for the divorce. And then when things started, I'm like, oh my God, I just messed up. Honestly, it was God. He just allowed that to happen like that. So then I was able to get him out, and then a divorce. And then I think that he was hurt from the divorce. He didn't come around for a while. Like, after the divorce, we started back dealing with one another, because after the divorce, I still was so attached, I couldn't let go. And I was like, did I make a mistake? So we ended up trying to make it work again, but it was the same stuff. And then after that, when I completely let it go and I said, I'm done, I'm not playing around anymore, he didn't come around for a while. So it was just like, it just naturally happened. All of the fear of being afraid of him doing something, all of that fear left. And then I realized, I said, all of that, he made me stay. He didn't make me, but I stayed thinking that something would happen to me or he would do something. The whole time it was just a game to get me afraid to leave. We don't really have a relationship. My children, I have they're 13, 17, and 18 years old now. So they really their relationship is their relationship. I don't interfere with any of it. We don't have a relationship. I don't contact him. He doesn't contact me for anything. So I just every day just pray for him and ask God to help him, because he still needs help. That's the thing. He needs help, but it's not my problem. It's not for me to worry about anymore. I have to focus on my kids. You are worthy. You do not have to, if someone is putting their hands on you or abusing you in any type of way, whether that's anyone, it's just not even boyfriend, girlfriend, kids, parents, abuse is never okay. And you have to really take a deep look within yourself, which is what I had to do, and say, who am I? How did God create me? Is this what God would want for my life? And love yourself. Because one thing that I have learned, that when you love yourself, you won't take crap. You won't allow, the first time someone abuses you, you're out, you're done, because you know that you love yourself and you're worth more than that. Don't feel afraid to leave. You ask God for wisdom. You do it the right way, because everybody's situation is different. I wouldn't just call someone and say, you need to leave him. You have to use wisdom in that. But just don't be afraid. Life is so much more beautiful for me. It has not been perfect. It has been a struggle financially, mentally, emotionally, all of that. But it's so much better for me because I made that decision. And now I see the whole time that freedom was always there. Hope was always there. It was just about making a decision. When you get in your mind that you make a decision and you don't play around with it like I was, like I'm telling everybody I'm going to leave, but I really hadn't made that decision. When you get tired for yourself, and when you look at those babies every day, if you have children, and you look at your kids and say, what am I doing? This is what my son is seeing. This is what my daughters are seeing. If I'm showing them this is what love is, guess what? They're going to grow up to do the same things that I did. So get out. You are worth it. Your kids are worth it. And there is life after abuse. There is life after divorce. Find out what your purpose is and work on that. Like, I'm finding out what my purpose is now, and I'm focused on that. Not about a relationship or anything, but had I not done that, I look back and say, man, had I not done that, first of all, I probably wouldn't be alive. And there's so many other women who I have been able to help because of my journey and because of my story. And it's a real story. It's not made up. This is really my life, and this is really what I went through, and I am free. And I will never allow anyone to abuse me anymore. I would never allow anyone to feel like that is okay, because it's not. So there is hope and there is joy on the other side, but make that decision. So I often think back and say, like, you know, how did I end up with this person? I'm 13 years old thinking that, you know, I done found the love of my life. And when I think about that, oftentimes I think about it and it goes back from a little girl, not having that. Don't get me wrong, my parents are loving parents, but just not having that, you're beautiful, you know, I love you, just being, that my self-esteem being built up by my parents or by people, because, you know, life happens the way that it happens. So I never felt pretty. I never felt loved. So the first person, which is, you know, that was the first person to ever make me feel that, I ran with it. Even though times when even as a little girl, there were times where I'm like, I knew that this was not right. I'm like, this is not it. You know, I'm seeing like what really love is through other people, through other relationships. I'm like, this is not it. But it's that comfort that you have. You know, I'd rather feel this little comfort than be uncomfortable being abused for a little bit. You know, at least that I love you, that's making me feel good at that moment. So it's like, I'd rather take this than I have nothing at all.